Hello and welcome back to Invincible Asia. I'm George Clark and this is Deep Impact, where in this episode I take a look back at the issue from April 1994. Don't forget folks, before we go any further, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, ring the bell and all that jibber jabber, and thank you very much for supporting Invincible Asia. April 1994, 31 years ago, which is absolutely terrifying. Anyway, this was another one that I missed picking up way back when, and much like my February 1994 issue, cost a delightful £14 on eBay, just so that I can keep these episodes going in order. So this month, a fuller-faced Bruce Willis graces the front cover with the release of Striking Distance. Down below, it notes that we get a free Wolf poster inside. I'm guessing for the Jack Nicholson movie of this year, which, again, is a bizarre move for an action movie magazine, considering that it was pretty much a dark romantic horror. Also, I had a look through and that poster is missing. Now, around the edge we get a list of cast names who appear in this issue, such as Steve James, Nick Powell, John Wayne, Sylvester Stallone, James Glickenhaus, Chow Yun Fat, Sho Kosugi, and I think that says Frankenstein, which is quite interesting. I mean, there's not a lot really there that's pulling me in, but let's go Deep Impact. Inside, we start with a full-page ad for MAI Videotech and this gorgeous Bruce Lee box set, which I never did get of course, Mandarin Superstar, packed in a luxurious casket with yin-yang motif. A real collector's item. Isn't it just crazy how many documentaries were and still are coming out about Bruce Lee, and the majority of them pretty much just showed the same old shite over and over again, maybe in a different order, but that's pretty much why I stopped buying them. Opposite, we have the contents listing and Baywatch editorial with this awesome picture of Jackie Chan from Drunken Master 2. Love it. Actually, just next to Jackie in the contents, I can see Video Scream, a review of horror vids. Hope they're action horror. And below that is indeed Frankenstein. Again, strange for an action movie magazine. I mean, I'd understand if it was the October issue, but nah. Now, in Baywatch, Logan talks about welcoming Ian Fryer on board, even though he has been a part of the team since the first issue, coming in as a co-editor to give Bay a bit of a break. But I just want to read his blurb below that. At present, I'm back in Hong Kong again, waiting for shooting on my acting debut, Lucky Star Dragon, to continue after the Lunar New Year hiatus. It's been a terrific experience working with folk like Donnie Yen and Yuan Bio, and we'll be running an in-depth report on my China Odyssey in an upcoming issue. Meanwhile, a titled Tiger Storm, which I wrote and in which Gary Daniels stars, is nearing the end of its production. Speaking of the Hong Kong movie scene, I was disturbed to see an article in an American magazine in which Chinese superstar Jackie Chan seemed to be taking some verbal potshots at many of the Western martial artists he has worked with. Though no magazine has higher respect for Chan the Man than Impact, I feel that this kind of in-print backstabbing of one's colleagues is unprofessional and wrong. Jackie hired these people and generally directs his own films, and he should take responsibility for the finished result. That said, Chan's latest, Drunken Master 2, is an instant classic. Check it out! Interesting sign-off there, considering that only a couple of issues back, he wasn't too positive at all towards Drunken Master 2 and complained that it took too long to make. What an idiot. Let's move on. Striking Distance kicks things off this month, the Bruce Willis action thriller that I remember seeing back then, but I've never actually went back to it since. Then again, I was so wrapped up in Hong Kong cinema by this time, and since then, it doesn't really appeal to me at all. Nice spread though, maybe someday I will watch it again. Sometimes I like to pop on old Hollywood action flicks to play in the background while I'm working. Kind of like a guilty pleasure, especially Nicolas Cage movies. Originally called Three Rivers, Bay gives it a pretty decent review and seems to have enjoyed it. Now, coverage on the film continues over the page with Ian Fryer delving into the making of the feature, talking cameras, action, stunts and the production schedules, stating that it started shooting way back in June of 1992, which is just crazy to think. Again, it is very nicely laid out, and after I did read through it initially, it has intrigued me to get watching it again soon enough. Following that is a regular Impact feature with the lightning rod, and an interesting mix of films spread over the first 2 pages here. I mean, you have Kathleen Turner, The Punisher, Leonardo the Ninja Turtle, Sean Connery, Lance Henriksen, Roddy Piper, a young Keanu Reeves, and a porn star. What a mix! This first article is called Fives, talking about movie franchises, what should have been, and what shouldn't have bothered. Let's see what tripe it delivers. Face it, every studio wants a franchise, a James Bond or Lethal Weapon style movie series that will spawn hit after hit with nary a false step. To discover the next big thing, movie makers check out every bestseller, hence the Tom Clancy adaptations from Paramount, every old TV show, hence the Addams Family, all, and even the pages of the world's favourite comic books, which led to the discovery that an updated version of Batman could run at Warner's. Here's an Impact selection of would-be franchises that were missed or messed. Should-haves. Number 1, V.I. Warshawski. Kathleen Turner starred as the hard-as-nails Chicago private eye in this adaptation of the popular thriller series. The movie wasn't that bad, and it's surprising that the property didn't spawn a TV series, if not a sequel. Number 2, Remo Unarmed and Dangerous. Another flop movie based on a cult thriller series, this gave Fred Ward a chance to show his stuff as a leading man, and Joel Cabaret Gray a chance to play old, wise and Korean. The film sets up the characters and plot well, but falls apart when the actual plot kicks in. This did lead to a TV pilot, though with a different cast. I actually quite liked Remo Unarmed and Dangerous. I thought it was a fantastic movie. It was probably another childhood favourite of mine. I haven't went back to it in probably 20 odd years, but it would have been great to see a few more movies based on those characters. Number 3, we have The Punisher. Dolph Lundgren brought the Marvel Comics character to life in a film that stands up quite well when viewed today. Too bad the producers threw out virtually every aspect of the original concept and made the movie in Australia. A sequel was announced, but has never been made. Number 4, The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. No idea what the fuck that is. Hands up who caught this early Rennie Harlan Joel Silver collaboration on video. We can't figure out why it wasn't a cult hit of Wayne's World proportions. Star Andrew Dice Clay was last seen in the truly dreadful Brain Smasher. Now that I disagree with. I love Brain Smasher. It is one of my favourite Albert Pyun movies. Number 5, Buckaroo Banzai. This quirky sci-fi actioneer never really found its market at the cinema, but has since become a cult video. Clearly intended to launch a series, it never did. Star Peter Weller went on to become RoboCop, and speaking of which, we move on to shouldn't haves. Number 1, RoboCop. This Paul Verhoeven-helmed sci-fi action classic has spawned 2 lame sequels and a pathetically watered-down children's cartoon series. Obviously, it was for children. The latest travesty, RoboCop 3, is reported to be so bad that, though made over 2 years ago, it's now only seeing the light of celluloid here and in America. Well, that's true. RoboCop 3 was pretty bad, but Part 2 I really loved. I thought it was fantastic. Number 2, Highlander. Probably the best example of a film that should have been left alone. It's hard to believe the same director, Russell Mulcahy, was responsible for the appalling sequel, and word is that star Christopher Lambert just walked off the set of the latest film in the series. The TV show isn't too bad though. Jesus Christ, make up your mind. Number 3, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Though the 2 sequels had their moments, neither are a match for the Steve Barron directed original. Hard to believe he went on to helm the Coneheads movie. Number 4, Superman. The first film was so good, it's hard to see why any producer in his right mind would fire director Richard Donner and junk the footage he shot for the sequel. Subsequent Soup's efforts have gotten worse and worse, and the TV series aren't even worthy mentioning. Number 5, Cyborg. This offbeat Mad Maxian tale was critically slated when originally released, but has since attracted a cult audience large enough to allow for 2 official sequels and numerous bootleg ones. Cyborg may have been Albert Pyun's finest star. The fact that no one quite knows why is reflected in the follow-ups. On the other side, there's a piece on porn star turned actress Tracy Lords, who is actually still acting to this day, and a small blurb below that on Keanu Reeves, which makes for an interesting read. Reeves believes in hyper-real actioneers, that is. Fan fave Keanu Reeves, subject of an Impact poster mag, was last seen in an all-out actioneer when he starred in the truly excellent Point Break. Next up for him, high concept-wise, are the cyberpunk thriller Johnny Mnemonic, which he replaced Val Kilmer and beat out Christopher Lambert for the role, and the American version of the cult Japanese anime Crying Freeman. Glad to see the little Buddha star back on our turf. Don't know where he went, but of course he didn't go on to star in Crying Freeman. That was Mark Dacascos, which to me was the right move to make. Below that is a piece on Rough Justice, a western actioneer starring Lance Henriksen and Roddy Piper, as well as it states here, a character called Wang, who is a Chinese railroad worker that joins our heroes on the quest for western justice to deliver some kung fu fisticuffs. Interesting, although I don't think it ever got made, certainly not in 1994 anyway, although in 1995 Lance did appear in Sam Raimi's western The Quick and the Dead, and another one called Gunfighter's Moon, neither of which starred Piper. His next western, I believe, wouldn't be until 2003 with The Last Cowboy. Anyway, moving on. The lightning rod continues over the page, where we're immediately smacked in the face by this huge picture of a handsome young Van Damme bursting a bicep and looking like he's dressed for an amateur theatre performance of Aladdin. Up top, the Beast flies east to fight Yen and Yuan. Impact editor Bay Logan dusted off his lucky red jacket recently for the press conference for Lucky Star Dragon, a forthcoming Hong Kong production in which he plays a British bad guy opposite local heroes Donnie in the line of Judy Yen and regular Jackie Chan co-star Yuen Biao. The director is Wu Ma, a veteran of literally dozens of Chinese action productions, including classics such as Prodigal Son and Miracles. The film is the first production from the recently formed Tun Lung production company. I got offered this role for only one good reason, admits Bay the Beast, and that's because I'm a friend of Donnie Yen. Logs was talked into growing a beard for the role, a facial addition he feels makes him look like Shaggy out of the old Scooby-Doo cartoons. It was either grow one as best I could, or have them stick the end of a broom on my chin, he says. Oh, Jesus Christ. Bay, whose martial arts background includes Wing Chun, Taekwondo, Hung Gar, and lying about his standard in each of them, promises that his film debut will either be the finest or the funniest in Hong Kong movie history. There can be no in-between, he vows. Jesus wept. Interesting piece, though. I do have the movie a couple of times on DVD, now known as Circus Kids, but it's been many years since I last watched it, although I do remember being pretty disappointed overall. Beside that, T2 gets a blurb about its Laserdisc release having extra footage, and below again, the unseen Brandon. Lee's Lost Legacy. When you consider the lengths the fans have gone to uncover unseen footage of the late great Bruce, it's only a matter of time before similar-minded folk start investigating the back catalogue of the now sadly departed Brandon Lee. Did the Son of the Dragon shoot any extra footage that was cut from the final prints of Kung Fu the Movie, Legacy of Rage, or Showdown in Little Tokyo? Certainly, extra footage was shot for rapid fire, as this still indicates. Perhaps such material can be included in the Brandon documentary that is surely not far away. So, 31 years later, do we know if it was ever uncovered? I'm not too sure. Comments down below, please. And finally, the piece on Van Damme. Last seen in the UK on the bed with Paula, lucky girl on The Big Breakfast, JCVD remains the world's busiest Belgian. His latest sci-fi epic, Time Cop, wrapped its Canadian shoot recently. Advanced stills show the muscles from Brussels wearing the funkiest combat gear since his last futuristic outing, Universal Soldier. 2010 Helmer Peter Hyams directed, with Sam Hard Target Raimi back in the producer's chair. From Time Cop, Jean-Claude jumps straight into pre-production on The Quest. This epic, set in 1860, features locations set in Paris, Hong Kong and China. Jean-Claude will play a young Parisian forced to stow away on a boat bound for China. When the ship is captured by pirates, they adopt him as one of their crew and, impressed with his fighting skills, decide to enter Christopher in a Bloodsport-style tournament. The Gan Gang, located in a lost city in the heart of China. The script seems tailor-made to allow for spectacle, larger-than-life characters, and the kind of all-out martial arts action that fans like to see their hero perform. Jean-Claude himself will direct, and he says that this will be his last full-blooded chop suey. Surely some mistake. Of course, you have to read that last line as if Sean Connery is saying it. He's got nothing to do with this film, but ironically, Roger Moore, another James Bond, did co-star with Van Damme in The Quest. And while it's being talked about here in this issue from 1994, the film didn't actually get its release until 1996. Opposite is Word Up, the IMDb trivia of Impact that usually gives us blurbs of nonsense, although always something of interest, like this one here. It's semi-official. Die Hard 3 will be Die Hard on an island. As originally planned, the long-suffering John McClane and his wife go on a long overdue holiday cruise. Their ship is taken over by the villains, and then the action shifts to an island location. Well, that was obviously a load of shite, as Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance, came out about a year later and was set in Harlem, New York. This pretty much describes the plot for Speed 2 or Under Siege or any other amount of Die Hard inspired movies that soon followed. Below that, the next actioneer from Passenger 57 and Demolition Man star Wesley Snipes will be Drop Zone, which is set against the adrenaline-charged background of skydiving. Isn't Charlie Sheen making a movie along the same lines though? Well, he did in some respects, but I don't think the lines that Charlie was doing were anything movie related. There's quite a bit of uninteresting stuff on US productions, but up top here is a bit about Albert Pune. I mean, it's pretty pointless, but I'll read on. Nemesis Helmer Albert Pune is busier than ever. He never seems to have had a theatrical hit, but his films do well on video and in overseas markets. His current multi-picture deal sees him filming in Hong Kong, the Philippines and elsewhere. His next UK release will be Kickboxer 4: The Aggressor. Below that, another one connected to him, our man Gary Daniels seems more popular than ever. His last PM Entertainment film, shot under the title Prime Target, is a big hit with the overseas buyers. PM are keen to use him for another movie, but the Gazman is currently committed to another film with his Knights Helmer, the aforementioned Albert Pune. And down here, again a pretty pointless blurb. Charles Bronson's high-concept comeback, Death Wish 5, gets a US theatrical showcase, but goes straight to video in this country. Wow, just fascinating stuff there. Anyway, hardly a page of excitement and genuine news this issue. Let's move on. So this is an interesting couple of pages, and 2 pages that I would normally just swoop by without a second thought. Totally unappealing, but interesting to note that both are owned by MAI, like the popular Videotech ad of course, who are also the umbrella company for Impact magazine itself. So I guess they can waste as much space as they want. The first is a full page ad for Clash of the Titans, I'm guessing a martial arts tournament of sorts where Wolf from TV's Gladiators made a special appearance. Then opposite, it's the MAI hotlines. Pick up the phone. Yes, pick up the phone. Dear God, you couldn't get any more 90s than this. I often wondered what kind of people actually call these overpriced numbers. Martial arts, Bruce and Brandon Lee in the media. Military history, what was happening 12, 26 and 54 years ago. The movie hotline. Inside gossip, all your heroes, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Jackie Chan, etc. But what intrigued me more was who the fuck was on the other end of these lines? Was Bay Logan or some pencil pusher who worked for MAI Publications just sitting alone in an office with 10 phones on his desk waiting for just one of them to ring so he could deliver the news on what Van Damme was doing or give them some survival tips or how to stretch? Jesus, it's just crazy to think that this kind of thing happened. Google really has spoiled us, let's be honest. On page 14, there's a competition to win copies of The Stepmother. Again, hardly tempting for action movie fans who have come here for a particular genre. Below that, an ad calling out to all Trekkers about a screening of all the Star Trek movies at the National Museum of Photography, Film and Television. And next to those regular outdated ads to help you attract girls and build muscles fast. Opposite, we have Wayne's World. No, not the comedy film, but an article on the legendary John Wayne. In fact, the first of a 3-page article. Where would the action film world be without the granddaddy of all two-fisted film stars, from Eastwood to Seagal? Impact takes a look at the 50-year career of the superstar of the sagebrush. The entire world and his dog knows that John Wayne was christened with the rather less than manly handle of Marion Michael Morrison in May 1907. In true boy named Sue fashion, the young Morrison had to grow up tough with a start like that, although as a schoolboy he was, by all accounts, withdrawn and bullied. I mean, I guess he was an action star of sorts, but just not for me. Saying that, I did enjoy a number of his films as a kid, watching them on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon with my nan, but then I found Hong Kong cinema. End of story. Still, I'm sure it makes for a great read if you're a fan, and it does end with the chance to win a copy of The Train Robbers on video. Moving on. Over the page though, now we're talking. The continuing story of Po Ling Choi's visit to the set of Drunken Master 2, which I first read about in the January 1994 issue. I'll just jump right into it. Old wine in a new bottle. Po Ling Choi visited Golden Harvest Hong Kong studios to see Jackie Chan return to the traditional kung fu fray. One way I judge my level of fitness when I'm in Hong Kong is by how out of breath I am when I climb the steep hillside that forms the base for the path leading up to Golden Harvest's Hammer Hill Road studio. This former textile factory was located relatively close to my apartment in Sam Po Kong, so on a couple of nights in January, I walked over to the centre of Far East action filmmaking to see Jackie Chan put the finishing touches to Drunken Master 2. On the first evening, the entire time seemed to be devoted to Jackie gargling with washing up liquid. During the finale, the heroic Wong Fei-hung invades a factory owned by the bad guys and single-handedly demolishes their henchmen using the drunken fist technique. To do this, he drinks industrial-strength alcohol that he finds on the premises. This has the effect of turning him into a kung fu version of one of the Mario brothers, and the sequence ends with him blowing bubbles before collapsing onto the ground. Hence the washing up liquid. By the time I had arrived, Jackie's lips and tongue were already swollen and sore from the mouthful of suds, but, perfectionist that he is, Chan the man was going for take after take. Looking around the interior of Harvest's main soundstage, it was evident that no expense had been spared in making Jackie's return to the kung fu movie genre a hit. The factory set, which had already seen a lot of action before I arrived, will undoubtedly provide a spectacular background for the usual intricate final reel antics of Chan and company. You saw the first Drunken Master as Chan during a break in filming. In this film, when I drink, I'm crazy. My father always tells me, don't drink. When I drink, I've no control. In this film, the father of Wong Fei-hung, Wong Kei-ying, is played by veteran Shaw Brothers star Ti Lung, and his mother by Chan's Miracle's girlfriend Anita Moy. I guess it's only in the magical world of the movies that a man who's 50 at most and a woman in her late 30s could give birth to a boy who's now almost 40. Chinese actor-director Frankie Prodigal Son Chan makes a flying visit to the set. He's supervising the post-production and music score for Drunken Master 2, which is being rushed in order to have the film ready for the Chinese New Year release in February. Chan watches on a monitor as Jackie, no relation, blows his umpteenth soap bubble before collapsing out of frame. It's an early wrap, with the production closing for the night at 11 o'clock. Before leaving, Jackie goes through some kung fu fighting moves with his stuntmen in preparation for the next day's shoot. Seeing this, I decide to come back to check out the next night's action. On the following evening, Chan is engaged in drunken combat with his regular sparring partner Gong Jai, who we now all know as Ken Lo of course. Now an action actor in his own right, Gong also serves as Jackie's right-hand man and informal bodyguard. With the collaboration of a handful of stuntmen, the pair stage an elaborate sequence of movements, with Chan using the drunken fist to counter Gong Jai's kickboxing skills. When they go for a take, the action monitor looks choppy and blurred, reflecting the undercranking of the camera's film speed. Much has been made of his speeding up the film technique, but I can report that it is used to enhance the action rather than to mask any slowness on the part of Jackie and his team. When rehearsing, Chan seems impervious to the years that have passed since Drunken Master. His movements are as energetic and graceful as ever. His kicking, which has never been the standout technique in his arsenal, is better than ever, and Kung Fu fans will find no fault with the choreography and its execution. As the martial arts mayhem continues, I go down to the editing suite below Jackie's office, where Frankie Chan is putting the finished score to the film footage. I take a peek over his shoulder at some of the scenes already in the can. In one sequence, Wong Sr. discovers that his son has been practicing the drunken fist, and so banishes him from the household. This image of the stern patriarch casting out the prodigal son is one that has persisted in Jackie's films since the first Drunken Master. Amateur psychoanalysts might find a parallel between this and Jackie's real-life father's decision to send his son to the Peking Opera School. In the emotional scene, Ti Lung forces Chan to drink before throwing him out, and instinctively, Jackie uses his drunken technique against his father's blows. Finally, Wong Fei-hung goes, but not before his father has made certain that the family manservant follows him in the right direction. With its long and troubled shoot in China and the abrupt departure of original director Lu Chilang, word on Drunken Master 2 has not been good. From what little I saw on the set, Jackie and his team are working full bore to deliver the film his audience accepts, and it remains to be seen whether the finished product will be drunken and deadly or drunken and disorderly. Well, that's a bit of a negative conclusion, although we know that is now not the case, but it's interesting to see how polling choice thoughts on a Jackie Chan film were during that period, considering most critics and fans only started to question Jackie's film projects about a good decade or so later. MAI Videotech splashed the next 2 pages with an ad for video sales, this one focusing on action, adventures and thrillers. A nice selection of movies highlighted in the pictures though, such as Operation Condor, American Ninja 5 and Black Rain. I did always love reading through these though. Page 22 gives us a bunch of ads as well as a competition to win Harrison Ford's film The Fugitive on video. Interesting selection of classifieds though. Starline Tours offers deals on trips to LA and Hollywood, while next to that you can order samurai swords and guns. And up top again, another ad for guns and replica weapons. You can imagine how shocked I was at seeing these, having grown up in Belfast throughout the Troubles. Just crazy. Below that, MAI Videotech, who clearly weren't happy with the 2-page spread before and couldn't sell this space, fills another hole beside an ad that sells full colour photos of your favourite Hollywood stars. And below that again, an advertisement advertising how you can advertise on this page of advertisement. Opposite, the fantastic Back in Action gets a write-up. I just love this movie. It is so much fun, and I just wish that Billy Blanks and Roddy Piper had done so much more together. Roddy Rowdy and Bulletproof Billy rip it up. Shapiro Glickenhaus, who have produced some sharp action thrillers just lately, come up with another winner in Back in Action. Ian Fryer takes a look. Billy has not had the best of days. Chasing his kid sister and his drug dealer boyfriend, I think that's supposed to be her drug dealer boyfriend because Billy's certainly not gay in this movie, he winds up blowing a police drugs bust. This has 2 rather drastic consequences. The police operation turns into a bloodbath, resulting in the death of Frank Rossi's partner, and boss drug dealer Kassanjayan thinks that Billy's sister ratted them out and wants her dead. The article goes on to say how it is a terrific buddy film with top-class martial arts and that it's decently produced and packed with violent action-filled fun. I just hope it's a title we see Vinegar Syndrome release on Blu-ray sometime soon, as they've done such a great job with many other Billy Blanks titles. Moving on. Page 24 and 25 give us big news on Planet Hollywood hitting Hong Kong. Stallone hits the former Crown Colony to promote that it's coming because I believe at this stage it still hadn't even been completed. Still, it's interesting to look over these pictures and not see his good friend Jackie Chan or any other Hong Kong stars there to be a part of that promotion. Over the page, we have a write-up on Distant Justice. I don't know what to think of that artwork, if that's the video release. I can't say it would ever make me want to see it. Saying that, it is a Japanese co-production from 1992 in the vein of Black Rain and other East-West thrillers from this time, although it doesn't have much of a rating even by today's standards. Overseas Film Group keep releasing these tight, compact little action thrillers with overtones of recent big-budget hits. Japanese co-production Distant Justice, about the best of the bunch so far, is basically Black Rain in reverse. Featuring as it does Bunta Sugawara as a retired Tokyo cop out for vengeance in Boston. The film was directed by Toru Murakawa, who directed The Most Dangerous Game, part of the infamous Game trilogy, as well as The Hidden Trail of the Beast, Lucky 13, and the year after this, a similar East-West production called New York Cop, which I have on German DVD, that co-stars Chad McQueen and Conan Lee. I've yet to watch it, mind you. Opposite, Bay Logan delivers a piece on the late great Steve James, the fantastic martial arts and actor seen in the American Ninja series, and quite possibly was the best thing about them, as well as films like Street Hunter, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, Hero and the Terror, Avenging Force, Delta Force, and he did appear in one of my all-time favourites, The Warriors, as one of the baseball furies. Although brief, it does make for a good read and describes him as an inspiration to children of all races. Page 28 and 29 gives us the Impact Letters page, where John James from Middlesex takes up almost a whole page by telling us what he really thinks, giving off about Chuck's acting, how bad most of the B-movie stars were, and how crap Jean-Claude Van Damme really is, although he does go on to praise Jackie Chan, Cynthia Rothrock and real martial artists, including that Aussie bloke whose name he can't remember. Ian Galloway from Kent confirms and complains that their new Bruce Lee box set seems to carry the cut editions. Well, obviously. Mary from Scotland was upset that she wrote to Jackie Chan and got a reply to say that he had moved, while the Ice Dragon from London needs enlightened as to whether or not Jackie, Samo and Yun are brothers. And finally, someone is looking to swap certain issues of Impact, Eastern Heroes and Empire magazine, while the usual list of fan club addresses run down the side for Arnie, Van Damme, Jackie Chan and Yun. What a spread. I don't think I've ever sent a letter to a magazine in my life. So You Want to Be a Stuntman follows with a 2-page spread covering British stuntman Nick Powell, who worked on films such as Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves and Batman, as well as many TV shows, advertisements and music videos. It's a great wee piece overall on his work, but I'm moving on. Over the page, another double spread, this time with Steven Seagal and the making of On Deadly Ground. It was a fine film from what I can remember, but not one I've ever went back to since its release. Just like comedians famously always want to play Hamlet, movie stars, especially those of the action variety, always seem to want to either or act in straight drama and direct. Directing his own vehicles proved the route to critical respectability for Clint Eastwood, so what the hell, why shouldn't everyone have a go? From the studio's point of view, it's worth a try too. After all, Costner didn't do a bad job with Dances with Wolves. Maybe these actor types aren't so daft after all. I really don't know who wrote this, I can guess, but they go on to compare Steven Seagal with Clint Eastwood, so I think I'll just leave that there. Let's move on. Page 34 gives us Video Scream, an odd page to have in an action movie magazine, much like the coverage of Frankenstein opposite, and it's not even the October issue. This time it covers Scott Glenn's Slaughter of the Innocents, which I've not seen, although I wouldn't say no to. The Stepmother is below that, I think I do remember watching that in the mid-90s, and below that again, a piece on Brian Yuzna's Return of the Living Dead 3, which was very different to the first two, but had its moments. And as mentioned, Frankenstein is alive and well. Obviously, a piece inspired by the 1994 remake starring Robert De Niro and Kenneth Branagh, as seen below here in the pictures. Overleaf, the article continues with a double-page spread, this time looking back at the classics and generally delivering a good write-up on them all. That said, it is an action cinema, so I'm going to move on. I mean, this really isn't a great issue, let's be honest, and it's quite possibly the reason why I didn't initially pick it up way back in 1994. Following that, the badly drawn troll in DM boots that carries a flick knife is back to help you with the secrets of street self-defense. And over the page we get the colourful China Beat, our monthly update on what's hot and what's not on the Hong Kong action movie scene. Well, briefly, considering how many films were being made in Hong Kong at this time. Dirty Danny, lovely. Killer Star leads Department O. The long underrated Danny Lee Su-ying, Chow Yun Fat's co-star in both City on Fire and The Killer, returns to his familiar role as hard-boiled Hong Kong cop for Department O, the latest police procedural from Lee's own Magnum Films and from director Kirk Wong, who previously helmed the superior Jackie Chan cop opera Crime Story. In O, Lee leads a team of organised crime squad operatives who must employ fair means and foul to track down bad guy Anthony Full Contact Wong and his girlfriend, a pair of Bonnie and Clyde style bandits. Wong's cinematography is superb as always, and the performances are first rate. The film's main feeling is that it's oversympathetic towards Wong's character, which makes the often brutal methods of Department O harder to stomach. Rising martial arts action stars Fan Su Wong, last seen in Operation S, and Wushu champion Li Fai, last seen in Iron Monkey, are given straight acting roles here, and surprisingly little chance to show off their extraordinary physicality. As Hong Kong Kopsaki goes though, this is one of the best for a long time, and an indication that the genre did not begin and end with John Woo. And I agree, Organised Crime and Triad Bureau is a fantastic movie. Definitely one well worth checking out, and a movie that I really hope that someone like Eureka Video or even Vinegar Syndrome put out on Blu-ray pretty soon, because it is well worth the love. Up top we have a news update. Singing star Aaron the Barefooted Kid Kwok takes a step into Chow territory for the comedy kung fu caper, The Kung Fu Scholar. It's no classic, but at least Kwok is a better on-screen fighter than the other three of the four Cantopop idols, Jackie Chung, Leon Lai and Andy Lau, all of whom have made martial arts action films. Hong Kong comic superstar Choi Sing-chi is back on form with Love on Delivery, his New Year issue action comedy. Choi suffered a surprise setback when his Mad Monk crashed and burned last summer, but Love on Delivery delivers the goods as both a laugh and kung fu fest. Full review next issue. Wong Fei-hung the First lives, while kung fu stars Jet Li, Jackie Chan and others compete to provide the ultimate 90s version of China's favourite folk hero. The original interpreter of the role, the now venerable Quan Ta King, is alive and well, and back on screen in the Chinese comedy All's Well That Ends Well 3. Quan played Hung Gar hero Wong in over 80 black and white films. Speaking of folk heroes, it looks like Chinese audiences will have two versions of Kung Fu legend Hung Hei Kwun to enjoy. Jet Li plays the Hung Gar style founding father in a big screen version, while Donnie Yen will play Hung in an ATV series. Okay, you never saw the first film, but we caught up with Bride with White Hair 2 in China. Bridget, Police Story Lin, plays the avenging man-hater of the title, and a cast of newcomers must take her on in bouts of glossy ultraviolence. Beyond the sheer style of the piece, there's little on offer here. What a load of shit, it's a fantastic movie. And finally, the film with the best gunplay but worst title goes to Pom Pom and Hot Hot, which stars Jackie Tiger Cage Chung and Mr. Vampire star Lam Ching Ying. Check it out. I agree, just got it for a second time on VCD. Love this movie. Hope that it gets a Blu-ray release pretty damn soon. Let's move on. The stories continue over the page with no sanctuary in sight for Jet Li's awesome Kung Fu Cult Master. When a film starring Jet Li, Sammo Hung and a host of other familiar Fu folk can be described as a turkey, it's a clear signal that the year-long Hong Kong Kung Fu craze has run its course. Even the staunchest fan of traditional martial arts fare would find little to admire in this jumbled mishmash of elements, from Zoo Warriors from the Magic Mountain, the classic Shaw Brothers ensemble pieces, and virtually any of the seemingly endless period dramas produced by Hong Kong television. The comprehensibility of the plot has never been a key issue in the enjoyment of Kung Fu films, but Kung Fu Cult Master sets a new low in terms of sheer obtuseness. It's almost as if you've walked in halfway through a much longer movie and then had to catch up with an endless list of names, places and martial arts brotherhoods. Lee seems incapable of maintaining any kind of quality control over his projects. Fong Sai-yuk was superb, but the sequel was written as it was being produced. Tai Chi Master was an artistic success, though a commercial disappointment in Hong Kong, and this new venture is a new low for the Once Upon a Time star. He plays the son of a pair of husband and wife Kung Fu masters. When they are killed, he swears revenge, but must wait until adulthood to receive the power necessary to overcome a childhood injury and gain the Kung Fu skills needed to exact revenge. It's evident that Lee's time on the film was limited, and so the screen is littered with supporting players and unwelcome comic turns. The Jetster is given previous little opportunity to show off his fluid wushu skills. Sammo Hung is wasted as Lee's father's teacher. He and Jet only get a chance to show a hint of their true abilities in a finale more notable for its slow-mo camera technique than its Tai Chi. If he's to sustain a post-Wong Fei-hung career, Lee needs a hit. Kung Fu Cult Master is the same word with an S in front of it. Review by Po Ling. Well, I have to disagree wholeheartedly with Po Ling. I love Kung Fu Cult Master, and it's definitely not shit. It's a fantastic movie. Beside it, Super Cop goes to Shaolin, Chow set to wow in Treasure Hunt. What a gorgeous spread for Jeff Lau's film. It wasn't a massive hit per se, but it is a lot of fun and has plenty to enjoy. I'll read on. Having established himself as a gun-toting superstar in East and West, Hong Kong hero Chow Yun Fat is aiming to provide something completely different in this new film, Treasure Hunt. The film's locations stretch from modern LA to the famed Shaolin Temple in China, with Chow playing a CIA agent who must go back to his roots in order to solve a mystery. Joining him in his latest offering for Golden Princess are In the Line of Duty star Michael Wong, Bloodsport actor Philip Chow, and Moment of Romance discovery Ung Sin Lin. Returning to his familiar role of a kung fu monk is 36th Chamber of Shaolin star Liu Chiahu, who plays a bespectacled Buddhist priest. Chow himself describes the film as a Karate Kid type of film. Although Shaolin is a major location in the film, the actual temple in Honan was only one of 8 different Buddhist centers used in the movie. In reality, the actual Shaolin temple is quite small, and Golden Princess are looking for the most sweeping spectacle possible to accompany Chow's return to the screen. Once the most prolific of Hong Kong movie performers, Chow has recently curtailed his film appearances to a select 1 or 2 productions each year. Director Lau Jianwei is planning a stunning comeback for the Asian star, who may well make his next appearance in an international vehicle created by Quentin Reservoir Dogs Tarantino, an avowed Chow fan and longtime collaborator John Woo. Very good. I must actually hook out my Optimum Asia DVD release of Treasure Hunt sometime soon. It's been a while since I last watched it, but I did really enjoy it. The video scene follows over Leaf. Obviously the video Scream article was its own thing. Here it covers Crossfire, the New Avengers, nope, not the Marvel ones, the classic Alpha Phil, and Don the Dragon Wilson's Black Belt, which co-stars Matthias Hughes and gets another mention over here in the list of top 10 action videos. A scientifically conducted straw poll taken among a representative sample of the population of Impact offices produced the following list of our current favourite 10 videos. Number 1. Falling Down. Is this really an action film? Who cares? We covered it when it first came out and still think it's a superb black comedy. The golf scene went down particularly well. Well, no, it's actually not an action movie, so straight away, what a load of shit. Number 2. Passenger 57. Always bet on black. Oh dear God. We can just imagine the meeting where the writers sold the idea. Die Hard on an airplane, but the hero is black. We'll buy it. Hardly original, but edge of the seat stuff anyway. Jesus Christ. Number 3, Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger can't really top its own opening scene, but it is the best Stallone vehicle in years anyway. The real argument is whether or not Demolition Man is better. Number 4, Nowhere to Run. Underrated Van Damme flick is beautifully photographed and features a terrific performance by Ted Levine, who was also one of the villains in Silence of the Lambs. Number 5, The Assassin. American remake of the French cult hit Nikita, with Bridget Fonda as the battling babe of the title. Should have done better at the cinema, rent it and see what you missed. Number 6, Last Action Hero. Most of Arnie's films have had a sly sense of self-depreciating humour anyway, so you can't help but think what the point was in mounting this takeoff. The sheer scale and professional skill of the enterprise makes it a must-see anyway. Number 7, Final Round. Surprisingly watchable takeoff of Running Man and Hard Target, has a sense of humour which makes it a fun, low-budget rent. We're still not sure about Lorenzo Lamas though. Number 8, Black Belt. So what's the cheap rip-off of The Bodyguard starring Don the Dragon Wilson doing in our top 10 list? In 2 words, the answer is Matthias Hughes, the best new screen villain in years. Number 9, Hard Boiled. Back on the rental shelves, we loved Hard Target, even if many of those wimpy mainstream critics didn't, and never missed the chance of a John Woo flick. Well, obviously they fucked that one up because they call it Hard Boiled in the title, and then they talk about Hard Target. Which one is it? Number 10. Jesus Christ. Patriot Games. We don't think this is really as good as the previous Jack Ryan story, The Hunt for Red October, and The Fugitive blows it away. But it passes the time if all the copies of Falling Down are out when you get to the video store. Disagree? Why not send us your current top 10 action video listings so we can compare? Away and fuck, I wouldn't waste a stamp. Totally disagree though. Moving on. The closing article is a featured piece on Bay's pal James Glickenhaus called The Glickenhaus Tapes. Bay Logan talks high concept with the Helmer behind The Exterminator, codename The Soldier, The Protector, and the forthcoming Slaughter of the Innocents, hence why it was reviewed on the video screen page, no doubt. Impact meets the American maestro of movie mayhem. He's dead, Jim must be a familiar phrase on film sets frequented by James Glickenhaus. Most of his movies have featured an uncommonly high body count, and it's widely acknowledged that Jim, along with fellow American action meister Walter Hill, has carried on a tradition of no-holds-barred North American filmmaking inaugurated by the late Sam Peckinpah, of whom Glickenhaus wrote in a recent manic missive to our letter column. James's projects as a director have included UK video hits such as Blue Jean Cop and McBain, but his company, SGE, has been responsible for overseeing the production and distribution of many other films, including Jalal Murhay's movies, Tiger Claws, etc., and the recent gangster epic entitled The Outfit. Impact met up with the amiable James at the last Milan Film Festival, where he proved more than happy to talk us through his high-caliber creative career. It's a nicely designed piece, great layout, but I'll just select a couple of bits. Bay asks, Jim, I remember when your first film, The Exterminator, was released in the UK. The poster and line read, "If you're lying, I'll be back." It strikes me that I've heard that phrase a lot since then. James replies, yes, and people have been making films with titles ending in or and ever since The Exterminator as well. Jesus Christ, these things happen. Fuck off. Bay continues, The Exterminator itself followed in the footsteps of Death Wish, which had established this genre of urban vigilante flicks. James replies, yes, this took Death Wish one step further, in that the protagonist went after more specific criminals. Over here, they talk about the late Steve James, again a nice connection to the article on him before. Bay Logan asks, how did you come to cast Steve, who you've used several times since? James replies, I was casting for a bartender, and Steve came in to read for that part. He was very good, and I thought, whoa, this guy can really act. Originally, Ginty was meant to have a racial or sexual stereotyping, so I cast Steve as Bob's friend. Just next to Billy Blanks' ballsack is an interesting piece on The Protector. Your next film, which most Impact readers will have seen, was The Protector with Jackie Chan. I was interested to read in a French movie magazine interview with you that you're a fellow fan of the films of Sammo Hung. James answers, yes, I knew of Sammo from Enter the Dragon, and I was introduced to him in Cannes by Raymond Chow. I think Sammo was thinking of doing something similar in terms of working with an American director or producer. Jackie was in Cannes as well. They had come to meet me and we hung out together. I've seen a lot of Hong Kong cinema. I think that, though it's very terrific stuff, it doesn't have a chance in the United States. Look at John Woo. Hard Target is a good example. If John Woo had been left to his own devices, I think the film would have been a complete disaster, commercially in the US. I'm not making a value judgment, I'm just saying that the Hong Kong style of making action films does not work on the international market. Well, he was obviously quite wrong, because only 2 years after this, Jackie showed him who owned the box office when Rumble in the Bronx hit US cinemas. Below that, we get a question on Jalal Murhay and his movies. Bay asks, how did you become involved with producing the Jalal Murhay films, Talons of the Eagle and so on? James answers, Jalal had begun to make Tiger Claws and had run into financial difficulties, so we did a deal with him. We had a lot of involvement with those productions in terms of the casting, editing and final cut. We had an SGE representative on the sets of those films, and I was involved in editing those films. Bay continues, Back in Action is a current SGE project, the team's former WWF champion Roddy Piper with martial arts star Billy Blanks. Was that your intention to contrast the wrestling style and the karate style of combat? James replies, yes, of course, though it was actually my partner Alan Solomons who came up with the idea of using Roddy. Billy we knew from the Jalal pictures. And finally, this last question just sums Glickenhaus up to a T. Bay asks, what would be your single best tip for someone hoping to make it today as a hot young action director? James replies, I think you have to have a story. Ultimately, your film has to be about something. I think that the reason you can watch The Exterminator 13 years after it was made is that it's about something. About revenge and the fact that vigilantism is a two-edged sword. I think that a problem with a lot of young filmmakers today is that they have no real life experiences. They make films based on watching movies. Go out and get a life. Interesting guy. Can't say I really like him, but he's an interesting guy. Opposite though, we have the coming soon page letting us see that we are in for more Steven Seagal, and up top mentioning that Van Damme guy. Time Cop on the beat in Canada. Happy Chinese New Year from Chow and Chan. Impact checks out the latest offerings from Hong Kong's hottest heroes. Brandon is back. The Son of the Dragon returns in Soldier of Fortune. Dear God help us all. Free Poster Mag. Eastward Bound. Bay Logan reports from the set of Lucky Star Dragon on his Hong Kong acting experience, plus our usual mix of news and reviews. On sale from the 21st of April. I always had these dates on my calendar so I didn't miss a copy. Many stores that were close to me only had 3 or 4 copies, which was really annoying. And on our final page, it highlights once again Bruce Lee, Martial Arts Master, the documentary on video available from MAI Videotech, which, ironically, I just received this morning as part of fan mail. Anyway, this has been another episode of Deep Impact. Thank you so much for watching and all your continued support. Until next time, enjoy your Kung Fu, and I'll see you soon.
So thank you once again for watching another video here on Invincible Asia. Don't forget you can check out hundreds of others here on the channel. You can also show your continued support by heading over to my new merch store or by checking out invincibleasia.com, where you can read my full movie reviews and follow me on Instagram at InvincibleAsia. Until next time though, enjoy your Kung Fu and I will see you soon.